Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Hari Prasad from the Department of Biophysics, AIIMS. Today, I am going to talk to you on the module Agarose Gel Electrophoresis from the paper Techniques in Molecular Biophysics Part 1. So, what are the objectives in this particular module? So, first we'll give an introduction to electrophoresis, then we'll be discussing the matrix, that is the agarose, the structural and physical properties, the classes of the agarose that are used in electrophoresis, what is the basis of separation of nucleic acid by agarose gel electrophoresis, the different factors affecting the rate of migration of DNA through the agarose gel, then the electrophoretic buffers, how do you choose the right buffer, what are the buffers that are used for loading the DNA sample into the gel, visualization of the gel, that is by the ethidium bromide, and what possible effects ethidium bromide has on the DNA, and the entire protocol for this particular technique of agarose gel electrophoresis, the possible applications of this technique in various fields, and finally computing the molecular weight of DNA fragments using this particular technique. Now, coming to the introduction of this particular technique, first of all, what is electrophoresis? Electrophoresis generally is a movement of charged colloidal particles under the influence of an external electric field. Now, what is agarose gel electrophoresis? The gel electrophoresis that uses agarose as a matrix is called as agarose gel electrophoresis. The movement is governed by what you call as an electromotive force. What's an electromotive force? Electromotive force is the influence that governs the movement of DNA molecules under the influence of electric field through this particular agarose gel matrix. Now, what defines the electric field? There is a potential difference that is created by having a positive end and a negative end on either side of the matrix. Now, DNA that is negatively charged goes from the negative end to the positive charge through a process of attraction. Now, DNA which can be of different size and which can have increasing molecular weight. The more the molecular weight and the increased size, the lesser is the charge to mass ratio. Therefore, these molecules with high molecular weight experience a retardation as they move and hit across the matrix. This defines the resolution that we talk about using agarose gel electrophoresis. Applications of agarose gel electrophoresis. Agarose gel electrophoresis can be used for separation of DNA fragments for extraction and purification. It is used in transformation and bacterial cloning where we screen for transformants. We also use it for assaying products of DNA extraction from either an animal source, plant, plasmid, or a bacterial source. Analysis of restriction enzyme digestion products to visualize the fallout or a drop seen post-digestion. In human genomics, restriction enzyme mapping where restriction fragment length polymorphism is used, agarose gel electrophoresis can be employed. DNA profiles of infectious diseases can be assayed for disease screening applications. And lastly, separation of restricted genomic DNA prior to the Southern blot experiment. What exactly is this agarose matrix? Agarose is a natural polymer polysaccharide obtained from agar-bearing seaweed, Gelidium or Gracilaria. Agar is composed of agarose and agropectin, of which the agarose is obtained after purification. The repeating unit of agarose polymer is a agarabinose, which is a disaccharide made up of D-galactose and a 3,6-anhydro L-galactopyranose. The linear polymer consisting of alternating D-galactose and 3,6-anhydro L-galactopyranose is linked by alpha 1,3 and beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds and has a molecular weight of about 1,20,000 Dalton. Some D-galactose and L-galactose units may contain attached units like sulfate, pyruvate, or methyl groups in small variable quantities which determine the purity of agarose. The presence and the number of such groups is a major factor in determining the agarose purity. Agarose gel as a mesh. The three-dimensional lattice of agarose consists of supercoiled structures with a radius of 20 to 30 nanometer composed of helical fibers of agarose polymer chains. The 3D arrangement is what determines the sieving nature of the matrix. The length of the fibers is variable depending on the concentration of the gel. When solidified, these fibers form quasi-rigid mesh consisting of channels ranging from 50 to 200 nanometer diameter. The whole matrix is held together by hydrogen bonds which can be disrupted via heating. Agarose exhibits the property of hysteresis, which is the difference between melting and the gelling temperatures. What type of agarose is suitable? There are different classes of agarose used in electrophoresis. The first is the standard high melting agarose. This is a standard agarose used for practical purposes of analyzing and isolating DNA fragments ranging from 1 kb to 25 kb. Second is the low melting agarose. It is ideal for applications that require recovery of intact DNA fragments after gel electrophoresis. It has been modified by hydroxymethylation as a result and has a low boiling point. Duplex DNA generally melts around 90 degrees Celsius, and this type of agarose has a melting point centered around 65 degrees Celsius. This particular feature allows for the rapid recovery of intact DNA. Third, the low electroendoosmosis or the EEO. Electroendoosmosis causes retardation in the movement of DNA and arises due to the presence of ionized acidic groups like sulfates and methyl groups attached to the agarose matrix. These groups form positively charged counterions in the buffer solutions. These counterions then migrate towards the negative electrode. The net result is that there is a bulk flow in the direction opposite to that of the movement of the DNA, leading to the retardation in the movement and poor resolution capacity. The retarding effect is significantly greater for large DNA molecules. It is for this reason that high purity grade, low EEO agarose should be used, which have been modified by the addition of positively charged groups to mask the negative acidic groups present. And lastly, the high gel strength agarose. It combines a very high gel strength with low EEO and is ideal for high speed, high temperature, and pulse field gel electrophoresis based applications. So, how exactly do these DNA molecules separate on an agarose gel? Nucleic acid is composed of a sugar phosphate backbone with a nitrogenous basis projecting inwards. The separation is based upon the fact that DNA is composed of negatively charged phosphate groups. When an external field, that is an electric field, is applied, the DNA molecules migrate towards the positive electrode. While traversing the porous matrix of the gel, you can think of it as a sieve, the DNA molecules experience a retardation in movement provided by the pores of the matrix. This retardation in movement is governed by the molecular weight of the DNA, considering that the charge to mass ratio remains uniform. So, smaller the DNA, more quickly will it traverse through the pores and reach further down the gel, ultimately leading to a size-based separation. So, there is an inverse correlation between the molecular weight and the rate of migration. What is the sieving effect of an agarose gel? So, imagine you have a agarose gel matrix in which electrophoresis is taking place, and if you have run 3 DNA fragments, 100 base pair, 500 base pair, and 1000 base pair. Now, my question to you is, which is the DNA fragment that will travel the fastest from the negative end to the positive end? Do you have the answer? Now, let me help you out with this. To understand the sieving effect of the agarose matrix, just the analogical example would be a crowded, jam-packed road. So, you have this 3-kilometer stretch of jam-packed road with lot of vehicles, bumper to bumper, and you have new vehicles getting into the road to cross it from one end to the other. Now, again I pose a question, which is the vehicle that will take least time to go from one end to the other? Would it be the bicycle? Would it be the auto rickshaw? Or would it be a big truck? Do you have the answer now? So, what happens is, the cyclist, because of the size, he finds it more easier to traverse through the traffic and reach to the other end fast. On a slightly slower side, the auto rickshaw would have to wait for space and then would slowly but surely make his way to the other end. But the slowest would be a big truck, which would find it very difficult for space because he would be blocked by all the traffic that is there on the road, and the truck would come out the last. In much the similar way is the sieving effect of the agarose gel. You have this particular polymer that is forming the meshwork or the net, and because all the DNA are negatively charged, the varying thing would be the charge to molecular weight ratio. So, that particular DNA fragment, which is our 100 base pair fragment, would find it very easy to seep into the channels and the pores formed by this particular agarose and reach to the other end. The 500 base pair fragment, though difficult, would go from one end to the other end at its own pace, and of course it would be very difficult for the 1000 base pair fragment, as it would keep hitting the meshwork, and which is the retardation force on these particular DNA molecules. This is the basis for separation of DNA fragments on the agarose gel. The factors affecting the rate of DNA migration. The first and foremost is the voltage applied. At low voltage, rate of migration of DNA fragments is proportional to the strength of the electric field applied. However, at high voltages, there is a differential increase in the mobility of DNA fragments with high molecular weight. This leads to decrease in resolution. Second important factor is the agarose concentration. So, the equation relating to this is that the logarithm of the electrophoretic mobility DNA mu varies linearly with the gel concentration C. In this equation, we see log mu is equal to log mu naught minus Kc. Mu naught is the free electrophoretic mobility of DNA, and K is a constant called as the retardation coefficient, which depends on the size or the shape of the molecule. The agarose percentage is based upon the DNA molecule that is to be analyzed. We generally run up the agarose with a percentage of 1 to 1.2, which can analyze fragments of 400 nucleotides to 6000 nucleotides. If we were to analyze fragments smaller than this in the range of 100 to 2000 nucleotides, then we would need to use an agarose percentage in the range of 2%. If we were to analyze DNA fragments in the range of 5000 to 60,000 nucleotides, we would then require an agarose concentration of 0.3%. However, at such concentrations, the gel is very fragile and difficult to handle. Molecular size of the DNA is another important factor that affects the rate of DNA migration. As we have been explaining, the rate of migration of DNA varies inversely with the molecular size. Double-stranded DNA moves through the gel matrix at a rate inversely proportional to the log of the number of base pairs. The presence of ethidium bromide. Ethidium bromide, which is a dye used in the visualization of the DNA, carries a positive charge, and its intercalation to the DNA can cause a decrease in the negative charge of the DNA. It can also change the superhelicity and a simultaneous increase in the rigidity, which increases the length of the DNA. Thus, some retardation is offered by the intercalation of ethidium bromide to the DNA. Conformation of the DNA. The conformation of the DNA molecule has a significant effect on the movement of the DNA. Supercoiled DNA usually moves faster than a relaxed DNA as it's tightly coiled and hence more compact. Thus, superhelical circular form, nicked circular form, and linear form migrate through the gel at varying rates. Under standard conditions, supercoiled form migrates the farthest, followed by the linear, and the nicked circular, which migrates the slowest. Gel running buffers. The composition and ionic strength of electrophoretic buffer affects the electrophoretic mobility of DNA. The buffer ions are the carriers of the electric current, and hence concentration of buffer significantly affects the migration of DNA. Generally, the buffers are used in concentration of 1x or 0.5x. Higher concentrations obviously provide better conductivity, but the flip side is that it generates a lot of heat, causing the agarose gel to melt. The buffers used to provide ions carry the current and maintain the pH at relatively constant value. There are a number of buffers used for electrophoresis, but the most commonly used buffers are tris acetate EDTA, also called the TAE, tris borate EDTA, also called the TBE, and the tris phosphate EDTA, also called as the TPE. These buffers are usually made as stock solutions and diluted later. Higher buffer concentrations allow higher conductivity, which can lead to possible temperature problems. To avoid heating problems, high buffer concentrations, if used, should be in conjunction with constant voltage. The buffers used contain EDTA to inactivate many of the nucleases that could be present in the experimental setup, which require divalent cation for their function. The EDTA chelates this particular cation, thereby decreasing the effect of the nucleases on the DNA. So, in buffers, we try to understand the purpose and discuss some of the commonly used buffers. So, when we talk about the purpose, the most important factor would be the pKa value. A buffer with a pKa that is very close to the desired pH is always chosen. Buffers with a pKa in a range of 7 to 9 are best suited for most of the electrophoretic applications. Talking about the formal charge, buffers generating ions with high charge should be avoided as it can increase the current and deplete the ions in the buffer very quickly. Tris base and borate are preferred buffer species as they are uncharged for part of the time at the desired pH and thus have reduced electrophoretic mobility. As per the molecular size, buffer species having the high molecular size move slowly in electrophoresis. Tris is therefore preferred as it moves slower than chloride or phosphate because of its increased size and low charge to mass ratio, which significantly inhibits the buffer depletion. And obviously, that particular buffer which has less toxicity, more solubility, and High UV absorption with the possibility of interaction with other species present in the solutions are some of the other factors taken into consideration while choosing the right buffer. Some of the commonly used buffers are TAE in a concentration of 1x, TBE in a concentration of 0.5x, and TPE in a concentration of 1x. Now, what's a gel loading buffer? Gel loading buffer is a colored dye that moves independent of the agarose concentration. It has the following composition. It comprises of either a glycerol, sucrose, or a phycol, bromophenol blue, and xylene xynol. So, what are the uses of this particular gel loading dye? One, it is used to visualize the DNA sample that is to be taken from the append off, loaded onto the tip, and then onto the gel well. The constituent of glycerol, sucrose, and phycol, they increase the density of the sample so that it settles to the bottom of the well and does not float out of the well. And three, it assesses how fast a particular gel is moving based on the dye font that migrates at predictable rates. The bromophenol blue and xylene xynol migrate at similar rates to a particular DNA, double-stranded DNA of 300 and 6000 base pair respectively. Visualization of separated DNA fragments. Ethidium bromide, or chemically known as 3,8-diamino-6-ethyl-5-phenyl-phenanthridium bromide, carries a net positive charge and is the most commonly used dye to make DNA bands visible after agarose gel electrophoresis. As most of the fluorescent molecules, ethidium bromide is aromatic in nature and has a core heterocyclic moiety generically known as phenanthridine. It has a planar ring structure and intercalates between the bases in the major groove of the DNA. It offers a sensitivity of up to 0.5 nanogram per band. Now, let's talk about ethidium bromide. Ethidium bromide binds to DNA by intercalation between the stacked bases. As you understand, there is a sugar and you have the phosphate group and the backbone of the phosphodiester bonds, and you have the nitrogenous bases that are inwards. Now, the DNA, this particular ethidium bromide intercalates and creates van der Waals interactions with these nitrogenous bases and lies perpendicular to the helical axis. This particular ethidium bromide is positively charged, so it actually negates the negative charge that is there on the DNA by a certain extent. Now, it alters the mobility, especially that of circular covalently closed DNA. What is the sensitivity? It can detect up to 0.5 nanogram of DNA per band. Although it is very sensitive, this particular ethidium bromide is known to be carcinogenic and proved by Ames test. You have alternatives like cyber based agents, but then cost is a limiting factor for them. The ethidium bromide has a UV absorbance maxima at 300 to 360 nanometer. Additionally, it can absorb energy from nucleotides excited by absorbance of 260 nanometer radiation and re-emit this energy as a yellow or orange light centered at 590 nanometer. After insertion into the hydrophobic core of the helix, the ring system makes contacts with the base pairs in the vicinity and lies perpendicular to the helical axis. The intercalation of ethidium bromide into the helical axis leads to about 27% increase in the length of the double-stranded DNA. In circular DNA, the intercalation markedly increases the formation of left-handed supercoils as local uncoiling of the helix at the point of insertion is induced. Moreover, It also increases the length and rigidity of the DNA molecule, thus affecting the axial ratio. It may be noted that the charge of the ethidium bromide does not determine the intercalation into the helix, but its planar ring structure that is able to insert between the bases, which is further stabilized by local van der Waals interactions, is what is the determining factor. The reaction between ethidium bromide and DNA is reversible. However, the dissociation rate is very slow and can be facilitated by cation exchange resin based methods. Now, let's talk about the workflow that is involved in this particular technique of agarose gel electrophoresis. The equipment and the instrumentation that would be required for this particular technique is shown in picture A. Now, to ensure that the experiment goes smoothly, we make sure that we have fresh buffers of either 1x TAE or 0.5x TBE. These buffers are not only used to make the agarose gel, but also used to fill the electrophoretic tank. We take this particular chamber to make the agarose gel that is concealed on all four sides. The agarose concentration is determined by the type of DNA that is to be analyzed. The agarose powder is poured into the buffer and it is boiled, and when you ensure that there are bubbles, it indicates the complete solubilization of the agarose powder. Even as it is cooling, we add ethidium bromide at a concentration of 0.5 microgram per ml, and after mixing it gently, we pour it into the agarose forming chamber. Even as it cools and it starts to solidify, we insert a comb of the dimensions that is required for the analysis of the DNA. The connections are provided to provide the right voltage. Red indicates a positive electrode and the black indicates a negative electrode, that is the cathode. Even during the run, you can see the movement based upon the gel loading die font created by bromophenol blue and xylene xylon. Now, when the die has traversed 2/3 of the distance on the agarose gel, you switch off the connection and then remove the agarose gel and visualize the DNA bands using a UV illuminator as shown in the last picture. How do you quantify the molecular weight of a DNA fragment? To calculate the sizes of the bands, a standard curve from the migration of DNA fragments in the standard DNA ladder is run simultaneously along with the sample that is to be analyzed. The DNA ladders are composed of a mixture of restriction digests of variable lengths. A 100 base pair DNA ladder, for example, will have DNA bands separated by a distance of 100 base pairs. Then the log of the number of base pairs for each fragment is plotted on the y-axis against the distance that each fragment has migrated on the x-axis. As you see in the graph, the sizes of the fragments can then be estimated by interpolating on the standard curve. If everything is followed as per the way it has been explained, the gel resolution will be excellent and you will be able to see the DNA, but it's not always the case. So I want to here tell you about few troubleshooting tips. First of all, smearing. When do you get smears? Smears could happen if there are damage to the wells, or if you're running a high voltage, or if there's a concentrated amount of DNA. What is preferable is to use less than 0.5 microgram per fragment per 0.25 centimeter square migration area. Then you sometimes see gel melting. Why does it happen? Gel melts when the voltage is too high, or if the ionic strength is too low, or the buffer concentration itself is too high. Now, poor resolution where you're not able to see the DNA fragments could be because of the wrong grade of agarose with contaminants like sulfate or phosphate or methyl groups. Then smearing of bands. If you're running a gel at a very low voltage for too long, you allow diffusion to take place, which causes the smearing. Now, to summarize this particular module of agarose gel electrophoresis. So, agarose gel electrophoresis is used to separate DNA molecules on the basis of their size. Agarose is purified from a seaweed and is used as a porous sieving matrix. The methodology involves making an agarose gel of appropriate concentration depending on the size of the DNA samples to be separated, loading the DNA samples and running the gel at appropriate voltage conditions and visualizing these DNA bands under UV trans illuminator. Ethidium bromide is the intercalating dye used for the visualization and is extremely sensitive. But the drawback is that it is mutagenic and other safe alternatives like cyber dyes are made available. The conformation of the DNA has a significant effect on the migration rate. Superhelical circular form, nicked circular form and linear form migrate through the gel at varying rates. The gel loading buffer consists of two dye fonts that migrate at predictable rates to essentially assess how far and how fast the gel is running. The technique is central to molecular biology and its applications ranging from separation of DNA fragments to post-extraction in sequencing.